Thank you, Mayor, for giving that speech. And next I'd like to welcome Madeleine McKenna. She was last year's former student body president of the University of Washington and is a representative of the Rob McKenna campaign for governor.
Hello, students of Shoreline Community College. Thank you so much for inviting me to participate in this rally. It's really commendable to see so many students that have turned out because you care deeply about your education and because we are all in this fight together to preserve public funding for our higher education system in this state. As Byrne mentioned, I served as the student body president at the University of Washington last year, and on behalf of students at the four-year universities in our state, I wanted to say that they're with you in this fight to preserve funding for our education and for financial aid programs that make education accessible. You're here because you want a better life for you and for your families. Many of you I know will go on to transfer to the University of Washington and to maybe WSU, I'll forgive you. But community colleges are an integral part of the higher education ecosystem in our state, and they need to be funded just as well as four-year universities so that students of all backgrounds can have the education and the opportunities that you deserve to make a better life for yourself. So thank you for being engaged in that cause, and the University of Washington students look forward to working you through this legislative session on those issues. After graduating this past June, I went to work for the Rob McKenna for Governor campaign. Rob's my dad, but I'm not working for him because of that. I'm working for him because of his stance on higher education. He gets it. He gets how important higher education is to the future of our state. And whether you're a Republican or Democrat, really, higher education is a bipartisan issue, and I encourage you to look at both candidates for governor for 2012 when you're making your decision in that race. So we have a short video that's some excerpts of his speeches that he's given on higher education. So he'd love to deliver that message to you all. And as we get closer to 2012, I encourage you again to look at both candidates. This is his perspective on the issues, and I encourage you to stay engaged as we get to that critical election next year. So thank you again for inviting me to be here, and I will let my dad do the talking. Thank you.
My volunteer activities and leadership roles in student government were really formative in helping me to prepare for community service and public service, including my role today. And they'll affect how I operate as governor as well.
But in the long run, I really believe the most powerful step that we can take to make our state economically competitive, in fact, world-class competitive, is to develop the best public schools in America and to create the highest quality, most accessible higher education system in America as well. Washington State was humiliated by its poor showing in President Obama's race to the top competition. We have some of the greatest thinkers in America when it comes to improving public education, yet we're not even in the race when it comes to education and innovation and improvement. We now rank 48 in America in the number of bachelor's degrees we're producing per capita. Employers are importing a huge number of degree holders they need, both with undergraduate degrees and advanced degrees. And I have to tell you, I don't have any problem with people who want to come here to work for our great companies doing so, bringing their college education and graduate school education with them. You know, but don't you think we ought to be preparing our own kids for those jobs? I had breakfast with the Dean of Engineering this morning from the UW. He talked about how they just don't have enough slots to meet the incredible demand for engineering education in our state. And we also talked about the fact that something like 19,000 Boeing engineers are scheduled to retire between now and the year 2015. Are we going to provide that education opportunity for our kids and our adults who are returning to school to take those jobs? We have to, it seems to me. The fact is, Washington State ought to be a national leader when it comes to education innovation. When I was student body president at the University of Washington, higher education accounted for 16% of state spending. My daughter Madeleine is president of the student body this year at the University of Washington, and state support amounts to a little over 8%. What does that tell you about the priorities of the people who have been making the decisions at the governor's mansion and in the legislature for that entire period of time? That the people of Washington have not been stingy when it comes to supporting and investing in education for our children. Since 1980, they've doubled the amount they spend in taxes on public education, and that's in real dollars, not in inflated dollars. They might be willing to invest more. In fact, I'm convinced they would invest more if they thought they would see better results for their money instead of higher dropout rates and weak test scores. In exchange for increasing higher education share, our colleges and universities need to uphold their end of the bargain. They need to provide the classes that students need to graduate on time and the degrees to compete for the jobs in the sectors where the demand is greatest. I want to propose a 50-50 deal. What that would mean is that we would get back to where the state would provide at least 50% of the cost of an undergraduate education, and the students and their families would provide the other 50%. We can't afford to increase access to higher education and to produce the number of bachelor's and advanced degrees that we need using the same old model. Whether it includes online education or not, I think the expansion of our university's branch campuses is also key, as is giving our community colleges more opportunities to offer four-year degrees. We need more higher education everywhere in the state. Colleges and universities should also innovate. They need to embrace online education as part of the mix of education opportunities. I'm very struck by the fact that one of the largest transfer institutions, one of the largest institutions in terms of community college students transferring in our state, is the University of Phoenix, a private, for-profit, online school that has attracted huge numbers of community college Associate of Arts degree holders who want to finish their BAs. That should tell us something. Our colleges and universities need to listen and respond to that kind of demand. And we can do that provided the state restores its commitment to the people of the state to provide access to higher education.